Hey, you guys. So, I wanted to hop on and talk about something I saw on Facebook this morning. I know it's been a while. I know I'm kind of skipping over where have I been? What's been going on with me? All the things I usually talk about. Been doing a lot. Okay. I've been coming through a long process, lots of changes. I'm fine and well, though, as you can see. I'll catch up on all those in betweens and those details. But needless to say, I mean, I'm really a completely different person than I was when I started making videos 3, 4, 5 years ago, and the energy space that I was in at that time. Okay, and that I say that because that may come up later in what I'm going to talk about. Who I was then versus now, all the processing and healing time. And that's what it's all about for me. That's what it was always about. Anyway, I knew I wasn't going to stay in that energy space forever. A lot of my older videos are, they're very valid. I'm not invalidating where I was at that time and how serious it was and what it meant to me. And I had to do it, no matter how I feel about it now. But the videos back at that time, if I look back on those, I was very tormented. I was going through a very mind-blowing experience. A lot. I was carrying a lot, okay? And so that energy space was very angry, very hurt. First, it starts with hurt. Hurt that you can't seem to solve, get out of, resolve, change. You're having cognitive dissonance. It's maddening. You're going through a lot of stress. Your heart is aching, that kind of thing. There was a lot going on, chaos and things that were over my head trying to juggle and balance and handle. And a lot of energy was going out of me. And a lot of betrayal was happening. Twisted things and emotional torment and just a lot, okay? Then, of course, when you're that hurt and you're that full of pain and sorrow, anger. Typically, human beings feel more comfortable getting angry than they do showing hurt. It's a thing. Now, I know that different ones of us, we're all on different levels of our emotional maturity and ability to be vulnerable. We're all on different levels of that, okay? Some of us, no matter how emotionally intelligent, awake, aware, mature, in touch with our feelings, our vulnerability, no matter how confident, sometimes even those of us that have worked on a lot of that stuff and feel quite comfortable being vulnerable, even we lock up from time to time and get uncomfortable being vulnerable. We've been hurt for too long, and naturally, anger takes over to protect us. So it's a very natural thing when you see someone being angry or being arrogant or having an attitude. Oftentimes, they are going through a lot of pain that they cannot reconcile at the time. It's over their head. Okay? So that's not a big thing. It doesn't mean they're a cruel human being. It doesn't mean they're a narcissist. It doesn't mean, that you should necessarily be afraid of them or whatever. It just means a lot of times that there is some kind of pain inside of them that they have not resolved yet. I've always known that about angry people, okay? And a lot of times anger can be an energy in itself. I'm not afraid of anger. I'm afraid of rage. Rage is completely unhealthy. It unbalances me. It gives me heart palpitations, prolonged fight or flight, heart racing, adrenaline, cortisol release is not good. I can tell y'all all about what happened to me because of that. Moving on. This video is not going to be about anger, but I just wanted to kind of say I'm in a completely different space, and it's okay if you're not. It's okay to be wherever you are right now, whatever level you're on right now. Because if I were to look back a year ago, 2 years ago, and there were things that I wasn't ready to accept. There were things that I wasn't, couldn't feel at that time. The pain was too great. The anger, the betrayal, the sorrow, the grief. There were things at that time that I couldn't see, I couldn't process, and I wouldn't accept. And if somebody was stepping to me with a bunch of, open, vulnerable, just do this, I wasn't ready. And, You can't force that stuff on people before they're ready. Let them be angry. Let them be raw. Let them have their time. Time is the only thing. I swear to God, I know it sounds cliche, but I just lived through it. Time. Time and only time of just going through that raw emotion and working with it day by day and finding ways to cope. That's the only way. That is the only thing that gets you through it. The only way out is through. Pretty much. So, but yeah, oftentimes anger will take over to protect us. It's very human, and it's something that I keep myself aware of. I don't want to stay in that state too long. I don't want to, be in denial too long, or any one state, especially if it requires a lot of energy or it imbalances me for too long. I want to get to the root of it, and I want to be able to. That's always been me since I was born onto this earth, since I can remember as a child. I'm trying to transmute it. I'm trying to take whatever the fuck you throw at me, and I am going to power myself up with it somehow. After, of course, I fall apart. After, of course, I react like a human. After, of course, my ego gets pinched, or I cry, or I get pissed, or I go through depression over it, or I fall down from it a little bit. That's human. But my natural ability, thank God, I don't know, I guess it was all the shit I went through as a kid. But for me, I generally take that stuff and transform it into something I can use, something that I can be productive with, something that I can learn from and power me up. And I don't waste too much time. Now, maybe when I was younger, but I don't waste time on vengeance. I don't waste time on what can I do back to them, or that doesn't even occur to me. What occurs to me is, how the fuck can I move forward? How can I get back up on my horse, my purpose, and better myself and learn from this mistake or this betrayal or this problem? How can I transmute it into something more beautiful, something powerful? Can I resolve and heal the situation, or do I need to leave it behind? And that's kind of just what I do with it, okay? Now, sometimes we get stuck in situations we can't do it that fast, where we have a harder time transmuting everything that's being thrown at us and making it into something beautiful or powerful. Pete Sapper calls this the advantage method. And Pete Sapper is a YouTube teacher, instructor, creator, person that I'm very fond of his work. I've learned a lot from him over the last 3 or 4 years. And yes, he teaches about this, calls it the advantage method. And it makes a lot of sense. The way he teaches it and explains it, there's always something new I can learn from him. I'm an eternal student. I'm always open. There might be one word or one phrase or something in that concept that I didn't know. But the overall concept of the advantage method, I've been doing it since I was a kid, and I didn't know it. A lot of these terms that have come along that we're learning about lately in spiritual communities and, different things, we didn't know back then, but we've been doing them all of our lives. We've been doing these practices, and some of us have these innate abilities and gifts, and especially growing up in trauma and things like that. So, typically people want to, anger comes over us to protect us, and we just have to give it time and work our way through the shit. But oftentimes people are afraid of anger. They look at anger as a negative, as a thing to fear, as, we should be nice. And I could get off on that topic all day. That's a video within itself. And I disagree. I agree with Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols. Anger is an energy that comes from his band PIL, Public Image Limited. The song Rise. Anger is an energy. And it's a passion. It's like passion. It's intense. That is what I more or less, look at anger like. It gets me moving more than anything, any other emotion on this earth. If you get me pissed, I'm going to get moving. It actually saves my life a lot of times. If I get pissed enough, at myself, sick and tired of being sick and tired, sick of my room being dirty, sick of whatever it is, I get up and I start moving. It releases just enough adrenaline and it gets me just motivated enough. It is an energy, it is a passion, it is intense. It enables you to protect yourself, to put boundaries down, to speak when you need to speak, to take action, to be proactive. I see anger as a productive emotion. It says what needs to be said. It helps change, facilitates change. It helps that to occur, and it's necessary. Okay. Now, rage, on the other hand, is something different. And rage turned inward is even worse, which is depression. Suffocating, black, hole, heavy, awful, quicksand, drowning, fighting for your life, depression. Rage turned inward. Rage never dealt with. Anger never dealt with. Pain never dealt with. Anger never expressed. Stuffed in the body for too long. Anger turned inward is going to manifest into depression, addictions, being sluggish, heavy, all of that, okay? And anger not expressed healthily and properly, as I'm speaking about, can also come outward and turn to rage. Depression does the same thing. Sorrow not dealt with, grief, horrible, horrible heartbreak, pain not dealt with, can turn about and come out as rage. Yes, absolutely. So we have to watch these things. We have to balance these things. But anyway, let's get off into what I actually want to talk about. And yeah, my hair's different. I know it doesn't look so great. It's not even. I am in the process. My hair has been, I had this whole almost 2 years of an emotional breakdown, mental breakdown. I lost my partner of 7 years last September to cancer. And we had a long, troubled history. And I went through a complete life-shattering breakdown for the last almost 2 years. And everything about me had just fallen behind, And so I've had to totally redo myself. I've had to totally crawl up from that hole of hell. And it has been difficult. And I intend on sharing some of those experiences with you guys and, how I've been doing and how I made it out and how you can too, despite whatever's going on. But anyway, yeah, my hair was almost all the way down to my ass and the roots are really long. And so I am about to do a bleaching process in the next couple of weeks. I've got to study up because I'm not a hairdresser. I've done it on my own hair before. I used to have someone who did my hair. She did it, took great care of my hair for about 20 years. And, I just don't do that anymore. I do it myself. And anyway, it feels great right now. I chopped it off. I guess about, I don't know, maybe 4 inches, 5 inches. I chopped quite a bit of it off and it just feels amazing. I washed it. You know how it feels, ladies, when you get a new haircut and your hair had this much dead end on it. Ugh, looks like nasty old horse hair at the ends. And you get a fresh chop and it just feels so healthy and amazing. So that's how mine feels right now. It doesn't look so great. And I'm just kind of experimenting with it. I don't really care because I have to wear it up every day for work anyway. So nobody's really going to notice. But I chopped, I intend on shaping the bangs, of course, a little bit more. But I chopped 2 different lengths because I wanted to see how it would look if I went way shorter. I thought, well, what if I do this cut? Which I have done many years ago. And I thought, which, you have to picture it. It's going to be blonde like this in a couple of weeks. I thought, what if I went that short just for a while? And then I thought, nah, just to be on the safe side. Okay, let's stop here, And so anyway, so that feels better. I've been sick of this hair. I've been needing to do it for a long, long time. But the thing I saw on Facebook this morning, there was this woman. I don't even know who she is. She had on these big, stylish glasses, and she called herself an icon, an older woman icon or something. I have no idea who she is. Now, I will say this. I kind of liked her attitude. I'm not knocking it, okay? But she was talking about something called mother energy. And she was, and oftentimes that's what a lot of creators do. They will, and I even did it. It's going to depend, okay? They're either wanting to sell their product, their book, their program, their course, and naturally they have to speak it, preach it, teach it with great confidence, 100%, no doubt. This is the way you should go. That's a salesperson. That's going to happen. And on the flip side of that, or even at the same time, a lot of creators now, coaches, teachers, mentors, whatever people are doing on their channels and videos, a lot of them have come through their own traumas and they're doing it as their own therapy. And they've gone through a lot of suffering, and some of them are still in that suffering and anger and pain while doing their videos. I was one of those people, okay? And I was in that hurt, angry space. And back at that time, when I spoke to the public, it was very this and that, and it should be this, and it's got to be that, and you need to this, and you need to that. All that's gone, okay? Not that some of my points weren't valid. Not that people can't still extract whatever they want from those videos and incorporate that as they need. But the energy space that I was in, I can look back and see it. And that's where a lot of creators are. And that's where she was. For me personally, it was because I was coming from a very unhealed place. For me to be in that type of energy of, it's got to be just like this, and people need to do this, and they need to start doing that, and blah, 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 dip, and this, and that, that, that. Hey, I'm an outspoken motherfucker. I'm not saying I'm not. But for me personally, I was doing that because I was unhealed, and I knew eventually I would move through that energy. That was the goal the whole time. Not to be on the hater bandwagon, not to be on the pitchforks to all narcissist bandwagon, not to be on anybody's damn bandwagon but my own, and coming through a very personal, individual, darkest night of the soul imaginable, into the void, descent into hell, fucking spiritual battle, being attacked relentlessly. It's hard to even put words to what I was coming through a lot of those years, okay, making those videos. And so if you see creators who are, a lot of times you can see their pain. You can see their anger. They might be arrogant. They have some attitude. A lot of creators are using their videos as a means of therapy for themselves. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're wrong. A lot of their points are valid, but you have to understand the energy space they're coming from. Okay. Now, for me personally, that's what it was. And I meant a lot of the shit I said. A lot of it was valid, but I'm in a completely different energy space now. I have really no need, nor do I want to jump on and tell anybody, it's got to be this way, and people shouldn't be doing this, and they should do that. And, I'm just not in that same place anymore. I don't really feel qualified, nor do I want to influence, convert, conform. What happens to me is a very personal and individual thing in a lot of ways. Spiritual growth and emotional growth and how we handle those things is very personal to you and very individual to you. We all may be able to relate and have some similarities in our lives and how we handle it, but at the same time, it's going to be very personal. It's not one size fits all. So I personally don't feel right going, do it this way. I swear if you do it that way, it's just like this. It's got to be like that. a lot of that was coming out of me because I was in a situation where I felt very out of control. I felt very invalidated at home. I was being gaslighted and emotionally, psychologically tormented. I was dealing with an alcoholic, a very sick person that I loved very deeply, who only had a few years left to live. Um, there was a lot going on, and it was way out of my control. I was being very triggered. All kinds of trauma was coming up. And when people feel out of control in their own lives, well, naturally, we find something we can control, whether it's some people try to control other humans, some people start changing their hair or cleaning their room or creating videos. You find things that you can control. And so a lot of that energy that was coming out of me, as far as I'm going to tell you guys and this and that, and it should be da ba da dee, that was my need to release all of that anger and fear and betrayal and lack of control and being invalidated and not being heard and respected and by the person that I loved and unable to reach him on so many levels at different times. So that's kind of what that was about. So I'm just giving you guys some insight into what it can be like for some creators and where they might be coming from when they get really extreme about certain things. Now, don't get me wrong. We're all different. If that's their track and that is what they strictly believe and with all confidence and that's what they want to do, that's fine. But me personally, I just more or less want to share personal insight, personal lessons, personal experiences, my thoughts and feelings on those things, kind of what I don't necessarily anymore want to tell you what you should do or what you shouldn't be doing or should be doing. I mean, I have my set of values. I have my damn preferences. I can get just as arrogant, angry. My character defects can come out all day long if they need to. Depends on the situation. But and also if I wasn't a little arrogant sometimes, but let me tell you something, that has nothing to do with you. Okay? People tend to get triggered sometimes when they see a creator getting a little arrogant in the middle of something or saying something a little snotty or they get a little bit riled up in the middle of something and some anger gets to release from them about some old trauma, but it comes out in a different way. And the audience takes it as, boy, aren't they snotty? Or boy, I bet they're a bitch. Or boy, that dude's angry. A lot of times, not at all. It's just camera. It's a moment where it's hard to explain this medium, this video thing. It's much like songwriting, which I used to do, singing, performing, dancing, drawing, painting, designing, and any other artistic medium, open mic, poetry, spoken word. It's a thing. Something happens to you when the camera cuts on or when you go into that zone to write that song, to speak those words. Something comes over you, especially creative personalities. It's almost like channeling. It's almost like channeling spirit. But something comes over you and you get into a flow state. You get into this particular energy where it just comes out. For me personally anyway. It's authentic. It's raw. And it is what it is. I don't have any pretenses for this camera. I don't want to be particularly perfect and claim to be oh so sweet and nice. And I don't want to be particularly angry or arrogant either. I just want to be me. And that's a mix of a lot of different things, okay? And furthermore, when you're on camera like this and you create videos and you talk to folks, it's like, if I didn't have some quirks in my personality or get a little bit animated or allow myself to be real, raw, vulnerable, authentic, let some character defects show every now and then, whatever, be real, raw, down to earth, who the fuck would want to watch me? I mean, think about it. You know what I'm saying? If I was trying to be, if we were all trying to be the same and just present everything and just say everything, just be so self-conscious, and who the hell would want to listen to that? A lot of times people, I know for me personally, a lot of times people want to be comforted. They want to, it almost, I have creators I listen to where I just put their stuff on and I just let it go while I'm cleaning or working around the house, driving, and it just comforts me. It's a familiar voice. I get used to their thoughts, their wisdom, their life, whatever they're talking about. I have several creators like that, and they have almost become a friend to me in a certain way. And a lot of people want to feel like they're talking to a homie, or like their best friends talking to them, or like it's just comfortable, stuff they can relate to. And if we sit on here and do everything, I'm just not that. I'm not that. That's beautiful. It's wonderful. All the perfect video editing, and the desk and the perfect lighting and da 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 da. Welcome back. I'm just not that formal. I like to be more relaxed about it. And it's difficult for me because it comes in on an energy wave. Creative personalities are terrible about that. I don't know why it's like that, but it is. It's very hard for me to cut this camera on and just create something or speak to the public on a schedule, or it has to come in on an energy wave. It has to be, it's really hard to explain. But I'm glad that I'm getting to do this today. It's been a while. And I feel like I had kind of a block on me for a while, and that is opening up again. I have a lot to share with you guys. So anyway, the woman this morning was talking about something she was calling mother energy. And she was really kind of going to an extreme. She was saying, look, here's your problem, ladies. Mother energy is, basically she was saying mother energy is bullshit. It's garbage. It has rescue, save, weak written all over it, and mother energy just needs to be kicked to the fucking curb. And a lot of her points, though, were valid when she got to speaking about how a lot of times mother energy is not appreciated. It becomes toxic. It becomes not valued, exploited, expected. It requires a lot of sacrifice a lot of times. Nobody notices. And it can drive you into the ground. It can be draining, and you can end up hitting a brick wall, just like I did, in the wrong type of mother energy. But I have a lot to say about this topic of mother energy. And there will be a part 2 because I probably won't be able to do it all in this segment. It is 27 minutes in. But I just wanted to kick it off and get it started because it's been so hard for me to do videos lately. It's like, soon I'm going to be getting my own place. And I'll be able to film, whenever I want, get another car. I'll be able to film whenever I want. I have a lot to tell you guys. But as it stands, I'm still in my mom's apartment for now, and she's here a lot of the time. I just don't feel as comfortable filming with her here. It's very difficult. And so, but I'm glad to get this started today. And yeah, so the points that she was making are a lot of the same points that I have made in videos in the past. And I would still say the same things today. Unhealed mother energy, though, can be toxic. And that is going to require a part 2 to get into it. Unhealed mother energy. This is the point she didn't make. She went to one extreme and she just said, fuck mother energy. That's crap. You need to be selfish. You need to stop feeling guilty about being selfish. You need to put yourself first. You need to realize that your time and energy is valuable. Your time and energy is the most valuable currency. I know that. And I've gone through all of these raw, angry realizations in that same energy that she's in just a few years back. It's okay if you're there. That's fine. I was there, and I wasn't going to come out of it and lighten up about it a damn second before I was ready to. So I'm not pushing anybody out of that zone. I'm not invalidating your feelings. If you that space that lady's kind of in, as far as fuck rescuing, fuck saving, you're nobody's dog, you're the prize, you're valuable, Be fucking selfish. Confront your guilt. Stop feeling guilty. Stop beating yourself up about taking care of you. You have to do that first. All of her points were valid. And I am a living, walking, breathing testimony to the fact that if you don't do those things and you let your mother energy go too far, you will hit a brick wall and it can destroy your life. And that is what happened to me. Now, what she didn't mention is that there is a difference between healed mother energy and unhealed mother energy. And what I'm going to get into in part 2 is the difference. And actually how fucking powerful and beautiful and amazing mother energy really is. What a gift it is. And how for some of us women, it was really hard to come by. We had to work really hard through our own deep traumatic mother wounds. Some of us not having mothers, others of us having abusive mothers, some of us not having bonds with our mothers, some of us having to learn to mother ourselves and then learn to be mothers to our children. For some of us, we had to work really hard to get into that mother energy and become one with that and accept that. And that required healing work. Okay. And that place, once you get there, could be a very beautiful, powerful ability, gift that not everybody has. And I will explain that more deeply in part 2, how I feel about that. Okay. Because of what I've lived through. But yeah, that is what she failed to mention, is that there is a difference between unhealed mother energy, which is toxic, and healed mother energy. Unhealed and the balance. Everything requires balance. That's why extremes just drive me insane. I can't, even though sometimes my ass gets extreme too, I really don't like it. It's not my ideal state. And there's a balance to everything. There's got to be, a balance. It's just so extreme. You don't have to throw your mothering nature, your nurturing, your compassion. You don't have to choose one or the other. And those are the things, those are the very balances that I was being forced to find, that I was being taken through years of different types of situations and traumas and confrontations and realizations and being forced to confront certain issues to find those very balances. Learning about loving detachment, learning to still love people very deeply and yet stand up for myself at the same time and detach from them. So many lessons that coming from where I came from, the toxic programming I had was so hard for me to learn and to do. But balancing the feminine within myself, getting more into the healed feminine instead of so unhealed and so tough and so traumatized that I'm way too far in my masculine. In fact, in my 20s, I felt like a dude most of the time. I wrote about this on Facebook this morning. I wrote about this video that, this woman that I watched. So I have lots more to say on this topic. But for me personally, now this might not be for everybody else. Okay, fine. But if you get something from my personal thoughts, then great. But for me personally, it's about balancing the masculine, feminine energy within that we all have. Okay. And settling more into that feminine and not being afraid of it, more into that mothering nature in me and not being afraid of it, not having to, either extreme for me personally isn't right. And, because I worked very hard to get into that more receptive, open, vulnerable, being confident in that vulnerability and, that nurturing, comforting, empathic, Mother is everything. It's beautiful, and to be able to nurture my sons and love them, and nurture my man, the men in my life, brothers, fiance, partner, before he passed away, to be able to love our men and nurture them and be open and receptive and gentle and soft. Trauma causes us to be too far into our masculine. Now, don't get me confused. I'm not stepping on any toes here. I'm kind of speaking about people who, are feel comfortable in whatever, heterosexual. You can identify with whatever you want to identify with. I am not even knocking that at all. Sometimes all that stuff gets confusing, and I know people might take it the wrong way. But for me personally, okay, it was not about, it was never, even when I was making videos in the past and I was really extreme, I knew I wasn't going to stay there forever. That was all part of my transmuting it and getting on to where I needed to be, which is always to overcome those trapped states of energy and let them free and rebalance, recalibrate myself. So for me personally, it's not about getting rid of my mother energy and looking at it like it's weak and pitiful and to be stepped on, and I need to be tough, and the only way to be powerful is to lose the mother energy. And okay, that's way too fucking extreme for me. And I'm going to give you guys a whole different outlook on what mother energy means to me and what I've lived through and had to work through and crawl through and learn and grow to get to that mother energy. And what a fucking gift it is for me. What a powerful thing it is for me. And I'm not giving it up for anybody just because I've been hurt, betrayed, lied to, disrespected. I've been through some things. That's my superpower. That's something I have that some of the others didn't have, was that energy. They wondered why a lot of times they wonder why all those energies out there, because sometimes it's really hard, especially certain people, depends on the crowd, but sometimes it's really hard for people to master that state. It is hard for them to do the work to heal the wounds from their childhood if they went through traumas and mother wounds and father wounds. Over half of this fucking world is walking around with a bunch of mommy and daddy wounds. I swear to God. Unhealed, unresolved, ashamed of it, stuffed it inside, don't want to talk about it, have forgotten it. And it's all over them. It's coming out in their life, and it affects the way they think and they operate and their fears. And so I have a lot to say on this whole mother energy thing. And I too had to learn a lot of hard lessons about what can happen to you if you take mother energy too far and you allow it to be stepped on, and you are in an unhealed mother energy or an unhealed feminine. That is a problem, okay? That is where we get into codependency, enabling, disrespect, low self-esteem, tolerating abuse, clinging on to somebody who lies or cheats or going for all the wrong things, getting put in a situation. So to me, mother energy is never that. And I don't think it should be looked at that way. To me, mother energy is not about following people around and henpecking and keeping up with their business all day long, and like the shit I took on in the past with grown-ass men sometimes. To me, that is not mother energy. That was unhealed mother energy. Unable to set proper boundaries. Okay, and I had to master those levels. And I know that person was in my life to help me do that. It was all about my spiritual lessons, and I know that. And so I have a whole different outlook on what I went through with that person. Even though it was chaotic and tragic and traumatic and unfair at times, and there was a lot of anger and sorrow, and things that I didn't deserve. There's just a lot, but I see things on a totally different level now. And so, yeah, that is what she failed to mention. Her points were valid, though. All of her points were valid, and I like the cocky attitude. To me, I don't get offended by people having a cocky attitude. I don't get offended by people being a little bit arrogant or a little bit pretentious. In fact, I think it's funny sometimes. We all watch TV shows with people acting like that. The only time people get really upset about stuff like that is if they're being directly mistreated by it, affected by it, or it's triggering something in them that isn't healed. Maybe their own lack of confidence or something in there that they need to look at. Typically, I don't get too offended by it because a lot of times I just know that's the show. That's the showmanship. That's the camera. It is what it is. Don't take it personally, But, so yeah, this one's at 40 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and clip it. Hope that I can get it uploaded. And I'm really glad to be able to talk with you guys today. I've really been working on myself. I got a lot more to tell you. And I'm hoping that this is just the beginning of a whole new chapter of me getting to talk with you guys and share and, everything flow freely from me and the inspiration be there and not this whole locked up, self-conscious, anxiety-ridden, throat chakra closed, blocked out. I can't stand that. It's driving me crazy. I feel like being in prison. So I'm really glad to get to do this today. And I hope you all are doing well. And so in part 2, I'm going to come back and we're going to get into the difference between the unhealed mother energy and the healed mother energy. And yes, how valid her points were, how toxic running around in I'm everybody's mommy. I'm going to save, rescue. I have no life. I do what everybody else wants. I do what they tell me. I jump when they snap. My own mother goes through this. I went through it the same. It's almost like it comes down in the bloodlines if we don't fight to break those cycles and make those changes. And it can be hard. I mean, hard to fight those demons out of your bloodlines. I've been going through it for years. And I'm watching my mother at almost 80 still jumping through those hoops. And it is tormenting her. She is in very unhealed mother energy. And it's a lot. It is a lot. And it's really tormenting her life. She has a terrible time setting boundaries. She has a terrible time just structuring anything for her at all and putting that limit down. It's insanity. And I see how it affects her. And I think that's one of many reasons that God brought me back here with her, or the universe, or however you want to look at it. I think that there are many reasons why I ended up back here. Never in a million years. I'm a grown-ass woman who lived on my own, raised a family, did what I did for many years. Never in a million years would I have expected that my mother and I would be living together as I approach 50. But it is what it is. But I know what unhealed mother energy is. And I wish that woman could have explained. I think those balances are important. I think a little more perspective. But hey, that's her gig. That's where she's going with her shit. All creators are a lot of times they tell you that it's good to target a specific audience. Like, who is your audience? What exactly, are they into? What are they responding to? If it's angry people, then speak to the angry people. If it's, people who need comfort, then speak to them. If more of your viewers, want to hear some kick-ass, intense, one-directional, do it this way, if they want more leadership, they kind of tell you. And a lot of creators do a lot of that research, and they will find out, who's watching them, what do they want to hear more of, and they will adapt themselves to that one thing. That's a little hard for me to do. Now, I would like to get to know my audience better. I would like to grow my audience more. I intend to do all that stuff. But as far as, I just have to hop on and be me, say what needs to be said. It's really hard for me to put myself in an energy and just stick to that one energy if that's not authentic to me. And I personally don't feel right anymore. You know, I don't know what people need to do. Okay. I'm still learning and growing myself. Um, but I can tell you my personal experiences and the things that have really worked for me or been wonderful for me or, um, you know, in my own personal life path. And the whole mother thing, that's what it was for me. Many, many years I spent in unhealed mother energy. And I'll tell you all about what that is about, what that was like, the cycles I went through, how most of my 20s I was in masculine energy. I had more male friends than female, um, you know, and it wasn't until getting close to 30 and I started healing more. I can remember every process, every level up, every new realization in those years. It's been a wild ride, you know, but I started balancing and healing my feminine energy. And I remember it well, healing that mother wound inside me. And I'm still doing a lot of that work with my own mother now, even 20 years later. Um, and so, yeah. So, anyway, part two, we'll talk about mother energy a lot more and how it's a beautiful and powerful thing. And I'm glad to have it. I'm proud to have it. And I love that saying in The Crow, that quote, mother is the word for God on the lips and hearts of all children. I think that is a brilliant quote and so true. It gives me chills. Mother is comfort. Mother is protection. Mother is safe. Mother is encouragement. Mother energy is a beautiful, powerful thing. And I don't, and that is synonymous with feminine energy. And I don't think we need to lose that. I don't, you know, I worked so hard on those things to be able to get there and feel comfortable there. I don't necessarily think we have to make a choice to just throw all that away and become hard to be powerful, become super selfish to be powerful, to have no empathy, to not be able to nurture our loved ones and comfort them. And I don't think we have to go to that extreme to be powerful and respected, because just like I wrote on my Facebook about this topic, and then I'll close. I'm keeping that mother energy and that feminine energy that I worked so hard for. I enjoy and love looking after my loved ones, my children, my family, my partner. I enjoy nurturing and being thoughtful and being gentle and being empathic and compassionate and doing for them, looking out for them, making sure they're okay. But just as much as I can do those things, I have had to learn some very hard lessons by having my fucking face scrubbed into the ground and stomped on, disrespected by people that I love as well, taken advantage of, lost everything because I was in unhealed mother energy, trouble with those boundaries, and had to balance all that stuff out, and I allowed it to go too far. I will say this, just as much as I can do all of those lovely things and I love doing it, I can put my boot in somebody's throat just as quick if they fuck with me. Sorry, have to be that way. And what I really mean by that is I can also lovingly detach from you and step away. I don't have to get all extreme anymore. You're cut off. I'm just, that's it. And I have, and it's okay if you're there though, because I've been there. I know that fucking anger. I know that rage. I know that pain. I know all that. I've lived through it many times. Okay. I know that feeling. Okay. But I just lost my partner last year, 6 months ago. He died. He left this earth too young from cancer, alcoholism, cancer. And even after all he put me through, A lot changes in you when someone you love dies. And you have a lot of time to process life and death and what really means something and what the fuck's what. And I've had a lot of time to do that. So, I personally have moved through the pain and the rage and the energy that I was in back then. But hey, I get it. If that's where you still are and you're like, fuck that. I don't care about that shit. I don't care. Never do anything for them again. I don't give a shit about them and I can't stand and they're just cut off. A lot of times when the trauma is happening to us in the heat of the moment, we have to be extreme. Now, my goal was always to move through that extreme. I'm a very spiritual person. I always have been. And I'm trying to always move towards loving, detachment, and balances for me. For me, that's what I want. That's what makes me feel good and operate well. But I've had to be extreme with some motherfuckers too. It just depends on the situation, okay? I understand if that's still where you are. That's perfectly fine. Move through it in your own time. But don't hate other people who are not there anymore. You know, there are a lot of groups out there that are like, why aren't you angry? Why are you invalidating? Oh, you're just weak. Oh, you're just codependent. Or you're just this and you're just that. I've done a lot of fucking healing work. I've done my time in the trenches. The emptiness, the void, the black hole, the pain, the anger, the cutoffs, the putting my foot down, the heart-wrenching decisions that I had to make to separate from people I loved and to put boundaries down. And I have faced those fires. It's time for me to calm my ass down, okay? You don't ever know who has heart problems or what kind of health issues people are going through, who died, what the fuck trauma they have suffered. You never know why people are making changes in their lives and becoming more calm, peaceful, gentle, accepting, loving. And I'm sick and tired of it being looked at like a psychological problem or a disorder to be loving. To be in loving mother or feminine energy. It is not a psychological problem. Okay? Now, again, unhealed mother energy and unhealed feminine energy is very toxic. Okay? There's a big difference between unhealed mother or feminine energy and healed mother or feminine energy. Because in healed mother or feminine energy, you have your balances. You're not going to be taken for granted by anybody. You're not going to be stepped on. You're not going to be toxic and running after people and getting all in their business because you feel nothing. You have no purpose. You have no value. You're not going to get caught up too much in all of that shit because you have healed that emptiness, broken wound from your own mother or whatever the problem was, the mother-father wounds, whatever you had going on. All right, we'll get more into that in part 2. Thank you guys for listening, for watching, for letting me talk. Oh, I didn't show you guys my beautiful tulips. Look at them. Aren't they beautiful? I just love them. I got them for $3.50 on sale at Target. I was so happy about it. I have some more over there too. They're hard to see. All right, guys. I'll see you in part 2.